The well-directed mind. Dhammapada Verse 43, the architecture of mind. The greatest gift is the mind you cultivate. There are moments when you wish someone could carry your burdens for you. A loving parent reassures you. A trusted friend offers wise advice. Someone reaches out with kindness when life feels uncertain. For a little while, their presence seems enough to steady your heart. Yet sooner or later, you find yourself alone with your own thoughts. It is there, in the quiet places where no one else can enter. That suffering either deepens or begins to dissolve. The Buddha recognized this long before the modern world filled our lives with endless distractions. He saw that every human being eventually meets the same companion, the mind itself. Today we explore one of the most hopeful teachings in the Dhammapada. It reminds us that no gift from the outside can equal the gift of a well-directed mind. This is not a message about becoming stronger than everyone else. It is an invitation to discover that the greatest refuge has always been quietly waiting within you. A child destined for greatness. During the Buddha's lifetime, there lived a devoted lay follower whose faith in the Buddha was deep and unwavering. When a son was born into his family, astrologers and learned men were invited to observe the child and speak of his future. After careful examination, they offered an unusual prediction. They said the boy possessed extraordinary potential. If he remained in household life, he would become wealthy and respected. But if he entered the path of the Buddha, he could attain the highest liberation. The father listened carefully. Although every parent dreams of worldly success for a child, something within him valued wisdom above fortune. He resolved that, when the proper time arrived, his son would be offered the opportunity to live among the monks and learn directly from the Buddha. The future remained unknown, yet the seed had already been planted. Learning to look within. As the boy grew, he displayed intelligence, gentleness, and an unusual capacity for reflection. Unlike many children, he was less fascinated by possessions than by questions that quietly lingered in the heart. When he came of age, he entered the monastic community with his family's blessing. The Buddha did not promise him enlightenment, nor did he offer secret teachings reserved for the gifted. Instead, he pointed him toward the same practice offered to everyone. Observe the mind. At first, this instruction seemed almost disappointingly simple. Surely profound wisdom must lie somewhere beyond ordinary awareness. Yet each day revealed something new. Thoughts appeared without invitation. Desires rose and faded like ripples upon water. Anger sometimes arrived suddenly and disappeared just as mysteriously. Happiness, too, proved surprisingly temporary. Slowly the young monk began to understand that the mind was not a fixed thing to possess. It was a living stream, constantly changing, constantly inviting careful attention. Like a river that clears when left undisturbed, the mind also revealed its depth when it was no longer endlessly stirred. The quiet victory. Time passed, and the young monk devoted himself wholeheartedly to meditation. He was not free from difficulty. There were days when restlessness filled his thoughts, memories surfaced without warning. Doubts whispered that perhaps he lacked the ability to reach the peace others described. The Buddha never asked him to fight these experiences. Instead, he encouraged him to see them clearly. A thought recognized as a thought loses much of its power. A fear observed without resistance begins to soften. A craving watched with patience gradually exhausts itself. Little by little, the monk's understanding matured. His peace no longer depended on favorable circumstances. It arose from seeing reality as it truly was. The Buddha then expressed the teaching preserved as verse 43. Neither mother, nor father, nor any other relative can do as much good as a well-directed mind. How remarkable these words are. The Buddha did not diminish the love of family. Parents nurture the body. Friends encourage the heart. Teachers illuminate the path. Yet no one can perform the inner work that only awareness itself can accomplish. The mind that sees clearly becomes its own safest refuge. The kindness no one can give you. Most of us spend our lives searching for someone who will finally make us feel complete. We hope the next relationship will erase loneliness. We believe the next achievement will quiet our insecurity. We imagine that if enough people appreciate us, the restless voice within will finally become silent. Sometimes these hopes are fulfilled for a while. Then life changes. Relationships evolve, careers shift, loved ones move away. Even our own bodies slowly become different from the ones we once knew. If our peace depends entirely upon what changes, peace itself becomes fragile. The Buddha's teaching points somewhere deeper. A well-directed mind does not reject love, success, or companionship. Instead, it learns not to build its entire identity upon them. Consider a tree growing beside a river. Storms bend its branches, seasons strip away its leaves. Yet its roots continue reaching quietly into the earth below. The strength of the tree comes less from the weather than from where it is rooted. Our lives become similarly stable when our attention learns where true stability resides. The conversation you never escape. Every day you speak to countless people. Yet there is one conversation that never truly stops. It begins when you wake. It continues while you work. It follows you through moments of success, disappointment, and even sleep. It is the conversation you have with yourself. Sometimes it whispers that you are not enough. Sometimes it insists that tomorrow will finally complete you. Sometimes it endlessly replays old mistakes that no longer exist outside memory. The remarkable thing is that most of these thoughts arrive automatically. We mistake their familiarity for truth simply because they have visited us for many years. The Buddha invites us to become listeners rather than believers. Imagine sitting beside a forest path. Travelers pass throughout the day. Some walk quickly, others linger. Some smile, while others carry heavy burdens. You need not follow every traveler into the forest. Thoughts are much the same. When you discover that you can watch them without becoming them, an unexpected freedom appears. The mind slowly changes from a restless master into a trusted companion. This is not achieved through force. It grows through patient observation, one moment of awareness after another. Perhaps this is why the Buddha taught that no gift from another person can equal the blessing of a well-directed mind. A mind that has learned to guide itself becomes the greatest source of wisdom, peace, and freedom. The weight of invisible habits. Many of the thoughts that trouble you today did not begin today. They were shaped gradually through years of repetition. A disappointment became a belief. A criticism became an identity. A fear visited often enough that it eventually felt like a permanent resident. Without noticing, the mind learned familiar pathways, returning to them whenever uncertainty appeared. The Buddha understood this long before psychology gave such patterns a name. He observed that the mind follows what it repeatedly cultivates. just as a farmer cannot expect wheat to grow from seeds never planted. Peace cannot emerge from a mind continually nourished by resentment, craving, or fear. This realization is not meant to produce guilt. It is meant to awaken possibility. If the mind can be conditioned, it can also be reconditioned. Every moment of mindful awareness gently interrupts an old habit and creates space for a wiser response. No dramatic transformation is required. A river changes its course one small movement at a time. Perhaps this is why genuine interchange often feels surprisingly quiet. Nothing spectacular happens. Yet slowly, thoughts that once controlled you begin to lose their authority. Chasing reflections. Modern life offers endless opportunities for comparison. With a single glance, you can see another person's achievements, travels, possessions, relationships, or carefully chosen moments of happiness. The mind quietly begins to measure itself against images that reveal almost nothing of another person's inner life. Comparison promises improvement, yet it often produces exhaustion. The Buddha observed that suffering grows whenever the mind clings to the illusion that fulfillment lies somewhere else. The problem is not that others succeed. The problem is the belief that your own life becomes smaller because someone else's appears larger. Imagine standing beside a calm lake at sunrise. Every mountain is reflected upon its surface, yet the lake does not wish to become any of them. It remains completely itself while reflecting everything. The well-directed mind learns a similar freedom. It appreciates another person's joy without turning it into evidence of its own lack. In doing so, it discovers contentment that comparison could never provide. The space between feeling and reaction. Most suffering does not begin with events. It begins with the speed of our reaction. A harsh word is spoken, and anger immediately answers. An unexpected delay appears, and impatience takes control. A difficult memory surfaces, and sadness quickly convinces us that it defines who we are. The Buddha repeatedly invited his disciples to discover a small but transformative space between experience and response. Within that quiet interval lies freedom. Awareness does not erase emotion. Instead, it allows emotion to be fully seen before it becomes action. Like watching dark clouds pass across the sky, you begin to recognize that every feeling arrives, changes, and eventually departs. The sky never fights the clouds. It simply gives them room to move. Likewise, the mind becomes peaceful not because unpleasant experiences disappear, but because it no longer mistakes passing weather for permanent reality. The wise do not command the waves. They learn the nature of the sea. When silence becomes a friend. Many people fear silence because it removes distraction. Without constant activity, the hidden movements of the mind become easier to notice. Old regrets return, future worries grow louder. Questions long postponed quietly ask for attention. For this reason, many fill every empty moment with conversation, music, news, or endless scrolling. None of these are inherently harmful, yet they can become ways of postponing a meeting with ourselves. The Buddha often sought places of stillness, not because silence was magical, but because it revealed what constant noise concealed. When you sit quietly, you may first discover restlessness. That is natural. Beneath the restlessness, you may find sadness. Beneath sadness, perhaps loneliness. Beneath loneliness, perhaps a simple longing to feel safe. Awareness descends gently through these layers until what once seemed frightening becomes understandable. The forest is not peaceful because no sounds exist within it. It is peaceful because every sound belongs naturally where it is. The well-directed mind learns to welcome its own inner landscape with the same gentle acceptance. The greatest inheritance. Parents hope to protect their children from suffering. Friends wish happiness for one another. Teachers devote years to sharing knowledge. These expressions of love are among the finest gifts human beings can offer. Yet every act of kindness has a boundary. No parent can think another person's thoughts. No friend can release another person's attachment. No teacher can meditate on behalf of a student. The Buddha's verse is therefore not a rejection of love. It is a profound expression of personal responsibility. The greatest inheritance is not wealth, status, or even comfort. It is the ability to understand the movements of one's own mind. A well-directed mind transforms every circumstance. Joy is received without clinging. Difficulty is met without despair. Success does not create pride. Failure does not destroy dignity. External conditions continue to rise and fall like changing seasons, yet something far deeper remains steady. When this understanding begins to mature, you no longer wait for life to become perfect before experiencing peace. Instead, peace quietly accompanies you wherever life unfolds. The greatest gift anyone can receive is ultimately the one that cannot be handed from one person to another. It is cultivated patiently within through countless moments of clear seeing, compassionate awareness, and the quiet courage to know the mind as it truly is. The freedom of letting go. One of the mind's oldest habits is holding on. It clings to praise because it fears losing approval. It clings to possessions because they seem to promise security. It clings to opinions because they create the comforting illusion of certainty. Even painful memories are sometimes carried for years because they have quietly become part of the story we tell about ourselves. The Buddha did not teach that we should stop loving, stop caring, or withdraw from life. He taught something far more subtle. He invited us to notice the suffering that appears when we grasp at what cannot remain. Everything changes, seasons pass, youth becomes age. Success gives way to new challenges. Joy visits and departs just as sorrow does. This is not a flaw in life. It is the nature of life itself. Imagine trying to hold flowing water tightly in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Yet if you cup your hands gently, the water rests there for a while before continuing its journey. The well-directed mind relates to life in the same way. It appreciates what is present without demanding that it remain forever. When grasping softens, gratitude quietly grows. The light that cannot be borrowed. There are moments when another person's wisdom awakens something within you. A teacher speaks a single sentence that stays with you for years. A friend offers encouragement exactly when it is needed. A parent demonstrates kindness so consistently that it becomes a lifelong example. These gifts matter deeply. Yet inspiration is only the beginning. The Buddha could point toward freedom, but he could not walk the path for anyone else. Even those who lived beside him still had to observe their own minds, understand their own attachments, and cultivate their own insight. This truth is both humbling and liberating. No one else can complete your inner work. At the same time, no one else can prevent your awakening. The lamp that illuminates your path must eventually be lit within your own heart. Once kindled, its light does not depend upon the changing opinions of others. Like the moon reflected in 1,000 lakes, wisdom may appear in many places. Yet every lake must become still before the reflection can be seen clearly. The clearest guidance is the mind that has learned to see without grasping. Returning to the present. The mind often lives everywhere except where life is actually unfolding. It revisits yesterday, searching for different endings. It races toward tomorrow, trying to solve problems that have not yet arrived. In doing so, it overlooks the only moment where understanding can truly arise. The Buddha repeatedly returned attention to the present. Not because the past and future are unimportant, but because they are experienced only through the mind that exists now. When you breathe consciously, listen without preparing your next response. Or simply notice the warmth of sunlight upon your skin, something subtle begins to change. The mind stops chasing. The ordinary becomes enough. A bird crossing the morning sky does not hurry toward the horizon. A flower does not struggle to become another flower. Nature expresses itself completely in each passing moment. The well-directed mind discovers that peace is not hidden somewhere ahead. It has quietly been available within every fully lived moment. The mind as your companion. Life will continue to offer uncertainty. There will still be unexpected illness, changing relationships, unanswered questions, and days when the future appears unclear. The Buddha never promised a life without difficulty. Instead, he revealed the possibility of meeting difficulty with wisdom instead of confusion. When the mind has been patiently cultivated, it gradually becomes your most trustworthy companion. It reminds you to pause before reacting. It recognizes anger before it becomes harmful speech. It notices fear without surrendering to panic. It appreciates joy without trying to imprison it. This transformation rarely happens through one dramatic realization. It grows through countless ordinary moments in which awareness quietly replaces habit. A mountain does not become stable overnight. It is shaped through immeasurable stretches of time. So too is the character of the mind. The greatest victories are often invisible to everyone except the one who has learned to see more clearly. The greatest gift. The Buddha's words have echoed across centuries because they speak directly to an experience every human being eventually encounters. There comes a moment when wealth cannot answer your deepest question. Success cannot quiet your anxiety. Praise cannot remove your loneliness. Even the love of family, precious as it is, cannot enter the hidden chambers of your own awareness. Only the mind itself can do that. This is why the Buddha declared that neither mother nor father, nor any other relative can do as much good as a well-directed mind. Such a mind does not become perfect. It simply becomes honest. It learns to see thoughts as thoughts rather than commands. It recognizes emotions without becoming imprisoned by them. It meets change without believing that life has gone wrong. It discovers compassion because it no longer needs to defend a fragile identity. Nothing outside may appear different. The same world continues. The same seasons arrive and depart. The same joys and sorrows visit every human life. Yet everything is experienced differently because perception has become clearer. And perhaps this is the quiet miracle hidden within the Buddha's teaching. The greatest gift has never been waiting somewhere beyond you. It has always been waiting within the way you learn to see. This is Buddha Reflections, where philosophy, insight, and lived experience meet to explore mind, impermanence, and release. Thanks for your time. It's been a delight. What should we explore next? Comment, share, and save your insight. Subscribe to Orbital Dharma and keep your thoughts bright.